years ago, one of our young men had a spinal cord injury and was real quadriplegic. And God has worked miraculously in his life. Sometimes there's healing that goes boom, and sometimes it goes incremental. And so I've asked Doug to share his story. And Doug and Tracy, would you come on up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
It's been a long 5.5 years, and this is my testimony to tell you where I started out to be, and kind of where where I am today. As a young boy and churched as a young boy, I didn't have a lot of parental influence. Grandpa and grandma on one side were very much Christians, the other side not so much. My grandpa and grandma would take us to church and try to get us involved. Mom and dad did a little bit of churching with us, with a lot of pushback from us kids. So that's as far as takes me a long ways forward. There was a young man, high school student, friend of mine, sitting in study hall together. He said to me one time, he said, Doug, I really think that's good that you don't take the Lord's name in vain very much, or at all. I don't really recall it, but it's things that you remember today. And to see him sitting beside me in church here today, or on weekends, Hal Thompson, and that's amazing because he's here, I think, because I'm here, and he's getting a lot from Charles's message. I go forward from there. I go to the tragedies in my life, starting out with my dad being shot and killed, and the influence that had on me, and really take me to a direct, make me wonder where I was at in life, and just before that, Tracy and I had gotten engaged to be married, and it was like a week and a half later that dad was taken from me very violently, and I just was really grasping for guidance and where I was at in my life, spiritually, and just needing that support that crutch I didn't have. That was Dad, when Dad was taken away from me, and I'm so glad that Tracy was there in my life too, as that crutch, and later on to have a very, very big influence on me. Later on, young man in my life, a cousin that had cancer, and he was taken very quickly in a very hard way. It was so sad for me to see him suffer as a high schooler, and such a good kid. That had a jolting, it really had a deep effect on my heart. And I was on the verge of getting to know God, and then to have a family member talk to me at Christmas time, or Christmas or Thanksgiving, she mentioned to me that God was working on me in my heart, and I just started weeping. Something inside of me just was starting to really open up, and I just had to be God's hand working on me. And looking back on it now, yes, it was. At the time, in that moment, you don't know. But looking back, it's really interesting to see how that works. Going forward a little bit further, my whole life is full of tragedies, and I won't get into all those because it's my life, and it's everybody has tragedies, but I think my life has a lot of childhood. Wow, how am I still here? Tracy's influence on the family and stuff. Family dinners, Sunday dinners at home. She'd come home and she'd talk to me about what the sermon was like, what Charles spoke about during the sermon. We discussed that for a while during Sunday dinner. That I look back on that was great for the family. Something we don't always get to do anymore, is have family time anymore. Another family member was pretty quickly diagnosed with lung cancer. He'd spent a lot of time in his basement doing office work and stuff. And I think that had a big, had a lot to do with his cancer with lung. And when he died, he was always the leader of the farm. And I was always the hands-on, get things ready to go. Always did the around the farm chores and stuff. He always took care of the office work, the business side of things. And when he died, all that burden fell onto me on top of what I was doing already. So once again, Tracy and I was a crutch to help work through that with me to get me to the next level. And lots of quiet time, helping to bring me, I think, closer to God. And with that, when Raymond died, I said, if I can get through this next year, I'm going to start attending church on a regular basis. Well, I made it through, and I started attending church on a regular basis because I needed that. And then it started to grow more and more, because I've learned that if you don't grow, if you don't continue to grow and learn that you're going to fall away. And it's too easy to fall away. It's way too easy. Then, my next tragedy that I'm still dealing with, 2017. I went away to play for a little while, and Tracy got the phone call that Doug's in the air, life flight, heading to the hospital. And the whole life changed for everybody from there on. I spent a lot of time on my back, looking up at the ceiling, wondering, how bad is this? How bad is this? I couldn't scratch my nose. I couldn't swat a fly off my arm. People were talking where they were going to send me for rehab for many months. I'm going, this can't happen. And I really wasn't in the mindset of where this is all going. And I wasn't really grasping God at that point in time. And because there was so many other things that were going through my head. And then Tracy and I were talking at one time, and she said that this is God's way of drawing you back in, is to, you were living a life that was outside of so to speak, his boundaries, and you were a lost sheep, and he had a way of breaking you down and bringing you back to the flock. And that really made sense to me. And so time went on. I really started to, in my lots of quiet time, lots and lots, hours at night, wake up, anxiety, trying to move. It's so deafening. Oh, the quiet time is so deafening. It would keep me awake, and I'd pray that if I could just get out of this shell. I was locked in a shell that I so desperately tried to get out of, trying to move my toes, trying to move my arms. And therapy was difficult, always cold, laying on an air mattress that was freezing cold at night, praying that I could just get warm, and I felt so alone. And God was always there. I just didn't want to accept it. But then Tracy would come as much as she could, spend time with me, and we'd talk, and it finally started to open up. And then Charles would come out. He'd drive all the way out there to Lincoln and to Omaha and spend time with me. And it really started to, I started that upward journey of learning that this is okay. What I'm going through is going to be okay. Somehow, I'll keep on learning, and as long as I have the motivation, which I always had motivation, always felt like I had the strength, that I could somehow make a little bit of progress. And after 3 months in Lincoln, I graduated to Omaha. I got another 3 months in Omaha. I learned a little bit, learned how to walk a little bit. There's some positives that came out of that. I got sent home for a month and had a wonderful welcome home party. And at the welcome home party, I knew I was going back to Omaha for 3 months. Going back to Omaha for 3 more months. Learned more personal training. Continued to try to stand up and walk the distance. And they worked with me. I got sent home that time for good. Never to look back. A personal training here at home. All the time increasing my personal journey, opening up my heart, listening to Charles, listening to Tracy. As we talk, we had to have talks. We had to have, because I needed a personal growth that needed to take me the extra journey along with my strengthening in my heart, and continues today of what I'm doing. But this road continues to go. I don't know where I'm going with this journey. I don't know how much God is going to let me have back. I'm not going to stop wanting more. That chair is not my life. I don't want to be in that chair. I want to be in this chair. That walker is not my life. We're learning to walk without the walker. And I know the Spirit of God is around me. And I'm so happy He is there. And I want to continue that upward climb with God in my life. So, with that, I guess, I don't want to keep rambling. Because there's a lot. I could sit up here all day and just ramble, but I got some notes to keep me from doing that. So, I want to thank everybody that has been praying for me. There's so many prayers out there during my recovery. Lots of people from different parts of the country that sent cards. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And I'm so thankful that Charles and Tracy and my church family are in my life. It's amazing. It's quite a looking back on it's quite a change in my life from being almost a agnostic atheist to a Christian. And I'm so glad I am, because I know where I'm going. So, and I'm not afraid of it. Not afraid of it. So, because there's a better place awaiting us than this world. So, with that, I'll end. Thank you very much.
I would just like to add a couple things to that made me think of a couple things. When we were first in the hospital, I can remember where I was standing because our son Marshall was there, and he said, Mom, I really don't care if Dad ever walks again. if this increases his spiritual walk. And that takes a really mature Christian to say that. I was not in the same spot my son was, but God answered both of those prayers, and Doug can walk, both physically, and it did increase his spiritual walk, and I'm so grateful for that. Grateful for the maturity of Marshall's faith right off the get-go. The other thing was, we were discussing one time, Doug had said, my faith has taken a 180 turn. And I asked him, do you think that would have happened if the accident wouldn't have happened? And he said, no, I never would have taken the time to spend in the Word, and I never would have taken time for prayer. So sometimes when people ask, but still question why the accident happened, I can just think of that and go, there's reason right there that it happened. And as we celebrate Christmas, God had a plan for Doug and I. This was his plan for our lives, for Doug's and for mine, and for our families. And as Charles was speaking last night, I think of Mary, who, the plan for Mary's life was very, very, very difficult. But it was God's plan for her life. And sometimes his plan for our lives are not easy, but it is the best plan. It's his plan. And after 5.5 years, we are thankful for the plan. It's not always easy. Some days it's easy. Some days I don't want to be thankful for God's plan for our lives, but that's what it is. And I'm so thankful at Christmas that was Mary's plan, to watch her son be crucified on the cross for the redemption of our sins. And I'm so thankful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Tracy. Right now, let's open up 12 gifts that Jesus gave us. On the first day of Christmas, Jesus gave to me salvation full and free. On the second day of Christmas, Jesus gave to me everlasting life and salvation full and free. On the third day of Christmas, Jesus gave to me peace in my heart, everlasting life and salvation full and free. On the fourth day of Christmas, Jesus gave to me love for all men, peace in my heart, everlasting life and salvation full and free. On the fifth day of Christmas, Jesus gave to me joy for my soul, love for all men, peace in my heart, everlasting life and salvation.